Well, hi everybody. I'm Rob. I'm Rob the accountant. I do like to help people. I do like to help people find solutions to problems they may have. And for the most part, I'll try to help you as much as I can without charging you anything. That's generally the motto of my life. However, there's a couple things I just wanted to get to today. It's been a long week. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I had a great Thanksgiving. I went widow visiting. Yeah, it's a new word I call widow visiting. Widows. That's generally older women. My gentlemen generally have friends still, but the women who have lost their husbands in the last year seem to be of people who don't have a ton of people around them or a network, because a lot of their friends have already died. So I got to go visiting a couple widows on Thanksgiving, and I thought I was just gonna stop in for a minute, and that never happened. So I had some great turkey, and I really don't like squash at all. I hate squash, but at one of my widow visits, she had some really good butternut squash. And my mother always taught me that it doesn't matter where you go. If somebody hands you a plate of food, you try everything, whether you like it or not. You try it, you stomach it, and that's what you do. So Thanksgiving was interesting for me. I will tell you that I miss my own Thanksgivings. Kids are growing up, everybody's out of the house, it's a new world. So a little bit sad or disheartened on that situation, but there's more. It's like, we got the president deploying the National Guard, and he deployed the National Guard to go find illegal immigrants, and I understand that. What I don't understand is why he granted asylum to one of these Afghan nationals who decided to, take shots at our officers. And then again, this is one of those things, it's like, it's not why do we have the National Guard? Why do we have our military on the street? Like, these are people who are supposed to be home with their family. They're supposed to be getting called up when we're at war. And what we have here is we have the president who just doesn't understand basic criminal minds. I'm not really a criminal mind, but I'm just saying, I've watched enough TV shows. No, I really haven't. But how reality works, President Trump, is criminals come out when they don't see police and they don't see law enforcement. When you have a whole bunch of military personnel sitting on the street with, Army Humvees and Army personnel carriers and stuff, the idea that the criminal is going to strike at that moment is just highly unlikely. And so all that you did here, and now you're going to send more troops, is you're just putting more people on the street who should not be on the street. These soldiers aren't trained to patrol neighborhoods. Soldiers are trained to go and wipe out the enemy and knock them out. Which brings me to point number 2. Pete. Little boy Pete. Big boy Pete. What are you? Where the fuck is this country going, where everybody just thinks that the best way to solve a problem is just to kill everybody? We don't like drugs, so let's kill the drug dealers. What the fuck is that shit? First of all, there's a reason there's a drug problem in America, is because America doesn't solve the problem that it has with drugs. I'm all for, people having the option to do whatever they want, right? Okay, that's fine. But somewhere along the line, we spend way too much time saving the people who use drugs. We give them free Narcan, we give them free all the stuff to knock them out of the shit, right? But then the senior citizens got to pay $400 for their freaking diabetes treatment, right? And so, you're going to use our military assets, which is tons of money to fly those planes over the ocean. You're going to, now Pete, literally, you're murdering people. You're literally murdering people on behalf of the United States. We already watched this shit show with George W. when he killed, over 500,000 Iraqis for weapons of mass destruction that were never there? Sooner or later, we have to say, are we a moral nation? Are we a Christian nation? Do we believe in anything? Because it just seems like all we believe in lately is how much we can make other people suffer, and how we can scare the shit out of everybody, and then how we can kill everybody without a judicial process. This is while we're building a beautiful ballroom so we can sit and have wonderful conversations about how we're killing everybody. And I just don't understand this. I don't understand why we would take our service personnel and put them on the streets where there are criminal elements, there are drug users, there are people with mental health, right? And it's like now it's like, you just put all these people have targets for why? And then Jean Periot, the wonderful district attorney from Suffolk County in New York, wonderful. She just does a shrill. You're such a shrill, Jean. Well, this premeditated murder. Listen, anytime you're killing somebody, in my book, it's premeditated, right? Because the person who is getting killed doesn't really want to die, right? And so we make up an excuse on whether this person's on drugs or this and that. But in this situation, what do you mean it's premeditated? The guy walked up and shot somebody in the head. And thanks, Jean Periot, for your wonderful diagnosis. You're a legal scholar there, right? I mean, how many drinks did you have today? And it's just like, sooner or later, it's like the shit show's got to just stop. Like, and the next shit show, which is, Gavin Newsom and these people from, Ohio, or, Governor Pritchett, these rich people who, they don't actually do anything for us, but, they all come out and it's either, vote for me because I'm against Trump, or the other person who's going to be like, I'm on my knees for Trump. And so, like, that's the problem with New York's governor's race right now. It's the governor against, everything against Trump. And then we got Miss Elise Stephane, who's, right there for whatever Trump says. And it's just like, does anybody have a fucking brain of their own? Does anyone just sit down and go, hey, you know what? I think this is good. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No. It's like this groupthink. And it's really starting to get to me. And you know what? I don't really care. I don't really care if I have a chance to win. I don't really care what the dimensions of anything are. I'm tired of other people going and saying they're going to help us. None of them are helping us anywhere. In fact, it's now looking like we're just, 50-year mortgages. It's just like, electricity that's flying through the roof. You got the federal government can't keep its doors open, but like we want to ban hemp. We want to ban hemp, which, by the way, is a derivative of marijuana or some crap. But we're going to ban all this crap that's actually helping people. Why? Why are we going to ban all this stuff? Why? Because Big Pharma's not making enough money? That I don't have enough senior citizens that are not on enough pills? 16, 17, 18 pills a day? That's not enough. They got to pay more money. Like, this is it. Everything is just a big shit show for how many dollars you got in your pocket. You're just a big shot because you got a bigger car than me. Yeah, whatever. If you want to work the rest of your life to have all this, God bless you. But I just think from a political point of view, what we really, 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 really need to do is stop taking Americans' money. Did you hear me? We need to stop taking Americans' money. And since, we're on this whole, 2 National Guards dying for no reason, killed by an Afghan that Trump approved as asylum for, his people approved there. So, we're against the Mexicans, but I guess, the ones that are speaking Arabic are just fine to come right in because, they helped us to betray their own people. Think about that. Just think about that for a minute, right? Like, you're willing to betray your own people in your country for whatever reasons, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not there. But I'm just saying, let's just deal with the fact of betrayal. You're willing to sell your fucking people out, right? why should anybody who's willing to sell their people out in another country be allowed to come here so they can sell us out? Right? Because once you're a fucking sellout, you're a sellout. It doesn't matter. If you're going to sell out your own blood, well, why wouldn't you sell out the next person? And so look what happened. Sold out his people to help Americans, got over here, and then he killed us. He killed our people. He sold out and he killed our people after he sold out to us to kill his own people in his own country. Like, where does this make sense that we want these people here? It's just like, and this is the same president who says, you know, every apple picker, every lettuce head picker in America is just a criminal. I mean, we're just going up and rounding up everybody now. Everybody for everything. And now we got our good old St. Pete Hegseth, whatever, who gives a shit what his fucking name is? This is a guy who calls 800 generals around the whole world so he can put them in a room and tell them how big of a man he is. Oh, how big of a man they need to act. Ooh, I mean, really? Really? I mean, the way that you're sounding, you're acting a lot like, well, I won't even say it's a female because I don't want to be disrespectful of females. But Pete, you're below a female and you're below a dude. And to literally kill people, to say, you know, like, hey, if we strike their boat and they're survivors, let's just murder them. Like, what? Where are we? Where are the Geneva Conventions? Where is the love for our troops? You know, remember there was a plane that Bush lost with, 12 U.S. Navy crew right on it, the the Poseidon to China? What if they had executed all those soldiers of ours? Like, what are we starting here? Like, are we a civilized world or are we not a civilized world? And you know the thing that kicks the shit out of me is everybody goes around and goes, oh, but we love Jesus. Really? You love Jesus? Really? Nobody's acting like they love Jesus. Everybody's acting like they're like doing some satanic demon worshiping, and let's just see how fast we can off everybody. You know, from the no food stamps, to no health insurance, to cutting all the freaking college funding for graduate students, to making everyone have to pay back their loans. Like, what world is this? Like, it's like we're not even citizens no more. We're just customers. We're customers of whatever interest can pay the fucking political donations of the person getting elected. And then when you got somebody like the mayor from New York City, I don't want to, ruin his name again, right? But, like, honestly, everybody hates him because what? He's talking about helping people. Yeah, I get some of his policies aren't very good, and, what he says, it's not like what he says aren't laws written in New York City anyways. I mean, seriously, like, what he is saying for a lot of his policies are laws enshrined and written in the city of New York that just have never been enforced by the government in New York City because they just kowtowed everybody who's got money at the expense of anybody who doesn't have money, right? So the voices of the little people with no money don't ever get heard, but the people who have the most disproportionate amount of money already get the loudest. So what? So you get to just leave all your tenants in cold weather and you don't have to do it because 3 of the people in there get Section 8? I don't understand. Like, this is like, let's just make it make sense for the American people. And so I just wanted to jump on. I just, had a little bit of a long week like everybody else. It was nice to see that Walmart was actually shut down on Thanksgiving, but then every other small business in America opened up while Walmart stayed closed, so all those people got to have the day off, but the rest of America just went to work anyway. So it's like, you can't ever win. There can't just be everybody just doesn't have the day off. Like, that's just non-existent in America. What's the point of a federal holiday if nobody gets the fucking day off? And it's just one of those things that, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I had a great Thanksgiving. I had a great time fellowshipping with some people who lost people very close and dear to their lives. And then, at the same time, you get to watch all the news of 2 Americans who lose their lives to a guy who shouldn't even be in our country. And this is after the fact that, the president cut off food stamps for 1 8 people in America, and that had to be pushed back in there. And then his beautiful big bill is going to just terrorize the hemp and the CBD market for another reason. It's just like, it just seems like, it's nobody's supposed to make any money. Nobody but, one class of people who have all the money, and the rest of us who are just supposed to be slaves forever. And, I just say to people is you don't have to play. You don't have to play. You don't have to buy that next car for $50,000. You don't have to buy the house for $600,000. Which, again, by the way, why would you want the house for $600,000 when you got to pay $20,000 a year in taxes? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And so what makes sense is for you to be happy, to find your peace, to find who you are, and to find more time to spend with your family and less time to be slaving over your job. And if that means you've got to make some cuts to, not having a new iPhone every 4 months, let's just talk about that. Wait, maybe you don't need the upgrade fee, which comes at $14.95 a month. Maybe you don't need the if I'm careless and I drop my phone, I get a new phone at $30 a month, right? So right there, you're paying $45 just for bullshit on the phone. Then you're financing the freaking phone, right? And then you're paying for service for the crappy phone. And then if you don't have enough internet, you got to pay for more of that. So when you really start to look at all the things that you need in America to live, and you really start to say, do I really need this? You can find out that you can cut out a lot of the shit that costs you a lot of money. And when you start to have less bills and you have to work less, then you have more happiness and more time with your family. When you have more time with your family and more happiness for yourself, it's going to lead to better health. When you have better health, then you don't got to take all these prescription drugs. When you don't have to take all those prescription drugs, then you can actually work all your life and get a Social Security check that actually help you do the things that you want to do in life. When you actually retire, whether it be 72, 75, or 80, when, the Republican Congress is done with it. I want everyone to know that I don't think there's one Democrat, short of me and a couple other my friends who are Democrats, they're like the last real Democrats. I don't think there's one Democrat right now out there in the Congress or governor of any of the 50 states. I don't even know how many Democratic governors are. But there isn't one of them who understands the world that you live in. And to be honest, I thought Trump would maybe at least, because he's a businessman, understand a little bit of something, but he clearly doesn't understand anything that anyone has to go through. He doesn't understand that daycare for the average family today costs $1,600 a month. Think about that. And it's not really, it sounds awful, but it's $400 a week. And you're like, man, $400 a week to take care of my baby, that's a little too little, but it's really a lot. And if you don't have it, it's horrible. And it's like, well, how do you do that? That's just $1,600 so you can go to work. Well, maybe like in my life, there was a choice between a couple of us as parents. Some people forget these choices that they made, but I don't. Maybe one parent can stay home for a couple of years so you don't have to pay that. Maybe it's better for your child to be raised for the first 5 years by you. Could you imagine that? Like you staying home and teaching your child the ways of life from you, from what you know, not like sending your kid to some daycare where some 12-year-old's watching your kid. I mean, there's just things that we can do, but, nobody's taking the time to really look at that. And everybody's so focused on what they have and me. I mean, I just, even the makeup department at most retail stores today are just out of control with what women would have to go through. And, I would be honestly very, very upset if I had a daughter. Because sometimes, to me, looking from the outside in, I don't know how any female truly keeps up with all of the mass media directed at women and, your face and your lips and, your big butt cheeks. And it just seems kind of hard to have to be a woman, and, maybe if we just all find a way to, take a day off. Take a day off from the media. Take an extra day off of work. Take a day where you're just not listening to anyone but yourself. That's what we should do. That's what a lot of Americans need to do, is just take a day, one day a week and just go off with you and those closest to you and just listen to you. My heart goes out to the families of those National Guards. I just think it's just so sad. And there was a day when I wouldn't see the pictures of them laying on the street. Like, what the fuck is that about? Like, seriously, like, why? What if they got kids and family? Is that like, it's just like, what is this thing? You gotta show everything. You put a little freaking dot, like, right where their face is, but it's like, you can clearly see a person laying pretty much dead on the street. It's like, this stuff isn't healthy. It keeps everybody in a dark space, and then nobody really wants to see anything that's good in anybody. And we just all get into this big old firing circle where you're bad, I'm good, you're bad, and you're trans, I'm straight, all this stupid stuff. While there are people elsewhere in the world who are really trying to develop their society to make their country, their way of life, and their people have it a little bit better. And I just don't think we have that anymore. And I just think fundamentally, from all 50 states to all you Republicans in the Bible states, to all you Democrats in the deep blue states, we need to just all stop listening to the fantasy shit. What are they going to do to make your life better for your market? And that should be the only concern. I hope everyone has a great month of December. We got Christmas coming up. We got another holiday where, you got to run out and buy everything for the whole world, for yourself, for everybody. And, don't not do that, but maybe just as you're incorporating, all those gifts for everybody else, maybe just sneak in a gift for yourself and take a moment to thank yourself for all the work that you do and all the time that you put in, so that you can have the things in your life. I'm Rob. I hope you guys have a good day. Good night, and the rest of your a great holiday weekend. Otherwise, bye for now.